Because in the end, I think we've all seen that as individuals, we've had a lot of experience where we have seen people, uh, do I say burnt out because of expectations? And I don't want that for him or for my children for that in that way. So I rather teach him to be fearless in taking the decision of not doing something, even though it was something that he had set out for, and be okay with it. So this is an example. I think with regards to golf, that's how we have faced it. I think, yeah, that's how I would give. I mean, that's just an example.
So the question is a little more bigger than that. One example, a very good example, because it covers an aspect, a very critical aspect of how maybe what I would call this as unconditional love. Because the kid may presume there are conditions that they have spent time and effort and finance, but you are trying to free him of that burden. So that's a wonderful thing. My question is more related to you. So let's make it a sarcastic kind of question here. So on one hand, you are asking him to be fearless. Are you fearless in your search for a job?
No.
And don't you think he'll be learning by example then rather than what you're telling him? And this is not just to provoke you. I would want you to think on this and answer.
No, but fearless in search of my job in what way? I didn't get that.
Uh, okay,
So is this a fear of failure, of not getting a job that I want, or is it?
Yeah, possibly, because when we spoke of what are you looking for, you were looking for a comfort zone, is what it seemed.
Yeah.
I'm now just giving it a name. I didn't have the thought when we spoke about that. Whereas we spoke about one or two career options. Okay, if you do this, this might happen and this. And there were reasons that you already had and which may be logical reasons. They are not just excuses that you're giving. But those are just challenges that will come in anything that we pick up, because even the things that we pick up that we like have their own challenges. So we cannot deny that it's a sword that cuts both ways, always. So I'll give you an example from my life so you can actually relate. Very often, my daughter is now a teen, and last 3-4 years, her mom passed away last year. But before that, while she was alive, we had multiple challenges in terms of handling her physical needs, mental needs. She grew up upon us more like a kid, and my kid, very often I blame myself as a parent not giving enough time to my kids' needs, because there was just not enough time. There were just too many things to be done.
Sure.
But within that, the one thing that she always heard me talking about was the right way to do things, or the value systems, that just talking about it. And when she saw that I didn't live up to it, she came and mothered me and she said, you have to do this. How can you not do this? And I was thinking that yesterday I was lecturing her about the same thing. This is how it needs to be done. So as a kid, she was picking up what I do. And then over a period, as we eased into our roles, when I started living up to it, she started living up to it, or at least listening more respectfully if I made a suggestion. Now, because they are good copycats. They see if you are saying don't lie, and then the next time you see, just pick up the call and say, dad has gone to the bathroom or some such thing. They immediately pick up, okay, lying is okay. So luckily, most of the times when I face problems, I tell her this is the problem and this is how I'm facing it. Or this. Just yesterday, she was laughing. I was all set to go for a meeting at 4. Then it was shifted to 7. And finally, that meeting didn't happen. She said, all day you've been preparing for this meeting because you said, I have to go here. Let's do your tuitions first. Let's finish this meeting first. All other things you were setting up. But in the end, it always happens when you are fully prepared, nothing happens. And she was laughing at me. And I said, yeah, but what can be done? I am glad that it is not happening, because my mindset has also become very tired just planning for the whole day's schedule. So things are far more easygoing in that sense. Do you think because we are available all day to our kids, people like you and me at this stage, quite a few parents have started going back to work in the normal sense, males and females both. Do you think availability makes a bit of a difficult thing to bring them up because they say घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर कि yeah, they are available तो ठीक है ना. So it makes a lot of difference, or how does one handle that aspect of
It uh, it definitely makes a lot of difference because I always say this to my my kids that you're just taking your mother for granted. Uh, that is one thing that I keep telling them. I said, see, if I was working, it would have been a different situation altogether for you all. And the primary reason why I discontinued after I began work again, after moving back to Bombay and I began work again, the primary reason why I discontinued was because I felt that my son was completely changing his behavior. Completely. There were a lot of tantrums. And of course, I was working later. You know how advertising was. In fact, that's when I met you. And we were working till 2 in the night and 3 in the night.
yeah,
And I used to hardly see him. So, and he was a complete mama's boy where he did need me. And the primary reason why I left that job was because of him. And he hates me working. So the moment I tell him I'm going back to work, it's like it's a big shock for him. It's something that he just doesn't like even now. After being 12 years old, he still doesn't like it. Whereas my
yeah,
daughters are absolutely fine. He's like, they're like, please go. That it's that situation. Please go ahead. We're happy, living in a daycare and we're happy doing our own stuff. That's how it is. So I think it is just are we available at all times for our children? Yes, we are. Do they appreciate it? It completely depends on their personality. So I have two sets of personalities in my house. I have one personality which just hates the thought of me going to work, and one personality who looks forward to it. And the reason is when they were growing up, what do we do when they are growing up is what plays an important role. So if there is a child who's used to being in the daycare right from the get go of when the child is young, the child is being independent, the child is emotionally independent. He or she knows that I'm fine, and when I need my parents are there for me. Whereas if you are constantly at home and you're available for your child, then that child is used to that. So do we fault the child? No. I think it's just the circumstances that make us do it. I was not ready to work when I was in Delhi because of the kind of the environment of Delhi. Per se. I was just not ready to leave him in a daycare or with a maid at home. And 2, 3 years, once the child is used to seeing you at home and doing everything for you, what do you expect? Can't expect anything else. Can I change that mindset now? Yes, I think I can. But again, it's as an individual, it's too late for me to do it because the place where my career should have been is gone. So to get back into what I want is difficult. So if I have to start something, it has to be something new altogether. Then can I adjust him and I make the entire situation different for them? Yes, then it's possible because as what you said, they are flexible that way. Kids are quite flexible. They start learning from you. So yes, they are quite flexible that way. Um, is it like taken for granted at the moment? Yes. So it's I think completely situation based, Madhu. Give me a situation where I have, like, for example, even those 2 hours that I work, they're used to it. When I say I have sessions, they're like, okay, fine. What do we do in those 2 hours? Either it's golf or it's swimming or or either you're napping or you're doing a set of studies which I've already told you what needs to be done. Have they adjusted to that? Yes, they have. So those 2 hours, they know they can't disturb me at all. So even though it's a very minuscule time in the entire 24 hours, it is something that they've got adjusted to. So that 2 hours, I'm not available for them. Before I was, right? They have got adjusted to it. And later on, I think children later on realize the importance of their parents working. Once they start, doing things on their own. And for example, my son, he has an entire set of things that he does. He has no time right now. So it doesn't matter to him much whether I am busy in something or I'm simply sitting on my phone or I'm, simply sitting and reading or I'm working. It doesn't matter to him because his routine is set. He's too busy to notice. But when he needs something, his mother should be there. That is something as a parent, what I think all of us try and achieve, whether we are working or whether we are, at home.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing we always should be achieving, I should say. And I think we all as parents do try and achieve that, our work is work, but when our child needs it, we definitely have to be there. So
Um, I want to bring up certain values that have come up and how they relate to you in the stories that you've narrated and the way you've gone about doing things. One of the most important things that struck me today vis-a-vis earlier what I used to do, I used to bring up specific values. But when as a person, your intent is so strong to perform very well, whatever role you picked up, I find in you that is a very strong motivating force to be the right kind. So if you're a mother, you want to be the right kind of mother as per your rules. It does not matter whether they are according to society or not. A good daughter,
absolutely.
a good person to your own self. Because most times, most people don't talk about that need of you need to settle with your own feelings about your dad's passing away or your parenting issues or your search for a career that kind of gives you time and success both or satisfaction. So it's very interesting to note that as a human being, you've got all those facets together inside yourself, and they are not clashing with each other. Because a lot of problems arise from the clash of you want this also and you want that also, and you're forever trying to go on one side. Um, the best thing that I found was that you are balancing it at least well, even if it is a fake thing. While talking, we all seem intellectual about our problems, but it is not. It cannot be fully fake because certain balance has to be there for us to bring it out in the fashion that you did.
No, so let me interrupt you here. So there is a clash. Like for example, when I when I think of it for myself, there is definitely a clash, right? So the fact that I am not completely, I'm happy being taking on a role of a homemaker, but at the same time, I have this clash of wanting to have some kind of a career is itself a clash because a homemaker is a complete, I mean, is a homemaker. A career woman is a career woman. What I'm trying to do is, trying to be in between, trying to find a balance. So hence not going in for a full-time job, but searching for something that is work from home, which satisfies my, let's say, the need for being a career woman, but not 100. It's more like, I want to be a homemaker and I want to be, a career woman too. So it is definitely a clash for me. Um, am I trying to? So right now, I am, yes, as what you said, there are certain, I live by my own rules. I have certain ideas about what it should be, whether it is a daughter or whether it's a mother or it's a wife. And I try and do how much ever I can, but the clash is always there and it's going to always be there. I think in
Uh,
every person, right?
okay, that is there. I didn't mean it from that point of view. The conflict in life is what
Okay.
keeps it moving. That is a given. And
Hmm.
plus, you spoke of a classic clash. That is, I think, the problem of every working woman these days, specifically with the kind of timelines our jobs have started demanding. So that clash, I respect that clash. But the idea was more from the point of view of that you are is not your top of the mind clash. You're aware of it. You're making efforts
Hmm.
to find a, a trick solution initially, but which could grow into a full-fledged solution at some point of time, is how I would put it. And that is what life is. So, one little question before I move on to my last question. Um, we have this. Now, I bring all your experiences together in answering this because of the 4 years specifically that you spent with your father, seeing that our best plans for taking care of ourselves or our loved ones are sometimes not enough. So, with this one little thought, my question to you with all these things that we are speaking, you're looking for a job, you handling your motherhood challenges as well as you can. As a person looking to satisfy yourself, it could be sometimes just reading a book. You don't want to do the motherhood role. It could be as simple as that. Why does it always have to be something really big? All of these, do you think there is something called life? It has its own plans for us and it keeps pushing us, probing, provoking, somehow cajoling, coaxing us into a situation where we are forced to be creative with our answers and solutions. And it is up to us, and the mindset at that point makes a lot of difference because, say, you spoke of one kind of clash. There are many such clashes that happen during the day for multiple things. So, if I'm sitting on the podcast, I'm letting go of my work opportunity for this 1 hour. For example, if some client might call, there might be some other emergency that I'm unaware of, but I'm not available. So I make my peace with the fact that I'm not available. I can only do one thing at a time. So, do you think mindset makes a big difference here in this kind of, and has it helped you? That is my last question before I come to the a question which is out of this podcast.
Okay. Uh, I think it plays a major role, the mindset. At least it has for me. Um, or I should say it has for us, for me and my husband, especially in the past 4 years. I was not there like how you were for your dad and your wife, a constant physical force with with my mom and dad. Whenever there was an emergency, whenever my parents needed me there physically, I was there for them. And but otherwise, it has always been on the phone and constantly in the decision making process, and constantly being there as a support. Yes, both of us, me and my husband both. Um, how has the mindset changed in the past 2 years? It's I'll go back to what I was saying before. The values that have been instilled by my parents came out in a full bloom on that during that time. Um, I have always seen them looking after the family. My dad of his sisters, of his mother, my mom of her parents, my dad, and everything came as a flashback. My dad moving cities just so that my mom can look after her parents. My dad, even though financially he was not as stable as what he was, um, doing everything in his part to get my granddad well when he was diagnosed with cancer, and he got 3 years just because of my dad, um, and my mom's care. All these things have been a flashback for us. So getting back to the mindset, mine and my husband's mindset during these past 4 years, especially when my dad was gravely ill from 2019 December, was how to support my parents in whatever way we can. And then came in COVID, where we were bound to our place because we just couldn't move thanks to the lockdown. And at that point of time, both of us realized that I need to get to my dad. It somehow we just felt that he needed us there, and it is, trust me, it is just the sheer strength of my husband's support. And I don't know what, but the uh, the kind of support that I have got from unknown people. I really am saying it's unknown people, from
Yeah.
people I can never expect, that I could reach my dad and I could see him for 2 days. I had 2 days with him before he passed away.
Oh my God.
And that mindset has really changed me. I'll tell you why. Um, it was the crux of the lockdown. All state borders were closed. We had to take a lot of permission.
Yeah, yeah.
And the right? So my dad's surgery was fixed. And I told him not to wait for me. I said, go ahead with the surgery. I cannot make it. The moment I am able to come from here, I will come. Don't stop your surgery. Where I was supposed, and he was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And we kind of applied for our permissions, but we never expected it because we knew very well. We had heard a lot of stories where people were not getting permissions to go through borders. There were a lot of cases where people were being held back. A lot of stories which we had heard. Even then, in 2 days, we got our permission to pass to Maharashtra. In a day, we got the permission to pass to Karnataka. And in the night, when we are supposed to leave on a morning at 2 o'clock in the morning, we set out for our journey. We have packed our bags. We have, loaded the car. We are about to leave with the 3 kids. And at 12 in the night, we get a message from one of my friends saying that, there is a story which is circulating where where the family went to Karnataka border twice. He came back to Bombay because his permissions were not enough. Even then, third day he traveled back to Karnataka border and he had to go into institutional quarantine. So think before you set out. Um, we were stunned. We didn't know what to do because we were obviously, if it was only me and my husband, we would have set out. It's
And with
because
the
we
kids.
had 3 kids with us, we were, thinking twice. And at that point of time, there was this one thing that pulled us through this entire thing. And as what he said, the mindset, right? It was one thing that my dad keeps talking to me about, used to talk to me about, is what is the worst case scenario, right? So that's the first thing that even Christian, I mean, my husband told me, he's like, what would be the worst case scenario if we step out? We will not go into institutional quarantine. We'll come back. We'll drive back. That's it. So let's go. And we stepped out and we had absolute angels on the road where at one checkpoint, uh, our tire burst and my husband didn't know how to change the tire because it was so hot. Kids in the car. There was this police guy who came and he helped us out and went ahead. And the next checkpost, there was a 4 hour line for clearance at the checkpoint, and we had another angel who was in the form of another police guy who didn't. After getting a certain check, after getting a certain clearance, I had to go to another line, which was another 2 hours wait. Um, and that guy gave me the clearance for that line without even waiting for that, without even asking me to wait in that line. It saved me 2 hours, and that 2 hours was really valuable. So how do we? I mean, that did change my mindset that there are people, there are forces in this world where if you want to achieve something, you will do it, and you get support from the most unlikely places, which you can't even imagine. And from where you expect support, you don't get it at all.
Maybe the
I mean,
problem lies
in
with
the form
expectations.
possible. I mean, you expect the support from, let's say, a family member, or from 2, 3 family members. I did expect the support, and I got stonewalled. I got absolutely stonewalled in that, and it really hurt me at that point of time. I mean,
COVID
it was
is
a shock.
something I think you should learn to forgive because people went into some different tangent altogether.
It, See, that's what I said. I can maybe forgive the people for the mindset, as what you said, but I cannot, as a human, it's very difficult for me to forgive that. So I may be able to, forget it and like let go and move ahead in life, but I'm not able to forget it. Did such a thing happen? It did. I cannot. And especially in the past 2 years when I mean, in that situation where we had faced a lot and we were trying to
Mm.
reach a certain goal, you kind of have that expectation from people. And when that doesn't happen, it really is like a slap on your face. And when you get the support from all the unlikely places, it's like a blessing. So, what has been the mindset for me? How has it changed? One, expect the unexpected and don't have expectations from the expected. And worst, take the worst case scenario in every situation. I mean, I teach my children now that I never had that. I mean, I constantly, all along my life, dad has always told me, and dad has taught his colleagues the same thing. ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या होगा, जॉब चला जाएगा ना, I am okay with it. See, that is what he was. So I never took it, but I have learned it now. And I keep teaching my kids the same thing now. I was like, what is the worst case situation in this? You won't be able to win that competition. That's it, right? You've got an experience, move ahead. Let's go ahead. See, that's what is, the 4 years that has taught me.
I think
So that's how my
you're
mindset is changing. Yeah.
undermining one important aspect uh, is the situation itself. The test of character is often only in these kind of amazingly adverse situations, because either you break down or you wake up and smell the coffee, like they call it. Well, you did, you followed
Absolutely.
your parents, and I'm glad that we are speaking today. There are uh, so many underlying lessons in the stories that you've shared. They seem like a simple story on the surface of it, but as far as I'm concerned, it needs a lot of strength and character to stand there and be counted. So now, with your podcast, I'm starting a new little part where I ask either a question or two, which are random questions, which is just a idea of reinforcing what the values workshop is around. So this question is unrelated to what we've been speaking of. Say, suppose you have a maid who's been with you through thick and thin. Say, uh, hypothesis, from the day your kids were born till today, or maybe till the longest time, she's been there with you, and she's uh, been your right hand. You could completely trust her, and the worst possible times you had, she stood with you, maybe even traveled with you, supposed to your parents or something. At some point, you find out that she is a compulsive thief. Somebody tells you,
Mhm.
and you know for a fact, and there is a CCTV proof. Let it be anything. How would you deal with the scenario? She's your the best you could have ever asked for. She's the blessing you always wanted. And on the other hand, you learn something is so dreary about her, which you never knew. How would you deal with this scenario, and why?
Okay. So the first part of the situation I have faced where I have had such a maid who's been a blessing. She moved places with me to my current place and she worked with me also here. And she was part and parcel of my entire twins pregnancy and bringing them up. Um, so she did play a big role in, in the past, especially my twins' life. Um, the later part of the situation of thievery is not something that I've faced. But hypothetically, if I'm given the situation with her, I would continue work with her. I would continue, I would bring it up with her.
Okay.
I would not penalize her for it. I would not penalize her for it, but I would be well aware of what I'm doing around her. I would be more careful.
But with her, would you sit and name the issue and then ask anything or Any kind of
I wouldn't
engagement?
be no, I would be very upfront because I've had that kind of that many years with her that I'll be upfront with her saying that I know such a thing is happening, and I won't change my behavior towards her or her work. I'll continue the way I am. But yes, keeping my things in place, keeping a check on what is being kept where, trust issues with, maybe materialistic things will definitely come in.
So thank you
Trust
very
issues in our work, no, I don't think so.
okay. Yeah, thank you very much. That's quite a practical answer, and I think I found some beauty in the fact that your immediate reaction was, I would not sack her of sorts or penalize her for it.
Yeah.
Uh, it shows the kind of value you lay on the positive aspect of the person compared to what they otherwise have as a challenging habit. Thank you so much. Uh, and I'm glad we had this talk. It's worthy of
Me
leaving
too.
everything aside.
Me too, definitely me too. It's just something that I've never done, so I've enjoyed the conversation. I don't know how far I have, pointedly answered the questions, but yeah, I hope I have.
Thank you. You've been good. I'll see you around.
Thanks a lot, Batu.
Bye.
Yep, thanks. Bye.